Hey guys, our next video in the fasting series is going to be about the 5-day fasting mimicking diet called ProLon. I'm Dr. Derek Lawrence. You've probably heard me talk about ProLon before in the past. It's been a valuable tool in my practice to help people jump into this idea of fasting in a, one, well-researched, two, great results, and three, really easy to do. So there's a pretty low barrier to entry on this front. As ProLon itself makes their kits generally easy to understand and satisfying enough that a lot of people can get a real positive fasting experience with this. So today we're going to talk a little bit more about how a 5-day fasting mimicking diet like ProLon fits into the idea of fasting. So we'll get into a little bit of what ProLon is. So ProLon, it's a particular fasting mimicking diet that comes to you in a nice box, and it's full of these little boxes. They're labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's why they're called the 5-day fasting mimicking diet. Each box has all the food you'll consume in that day inside. So let's take a look inside a box to find out what you're eating on a 5-day fasting mimicking diet. 2 soups, their nut bar, which I happen to like a lot. I think they're really delicious. A couple of packs of olives. If you don't like olives, tough luck. There's another little chocolate crispy bar, a few teas, a multivitamin mineral, and what they call an L drink. This is a drink that you'll mix with water, and it's simply a little bit of a sugar boost to help you if you need during some periods of low blood sugar, low energy, faintness. So let's break down what a 5-day fasting mimicking diet is. What does that really mean? What's fasting mimicking? This goes back to when we talked about the 5-2 calorie restriction. And so a fasting mimicking diet is a kind of prolonged, especially this 5-day one, is a 5-day period of prolonged caloric restriction. Meaning each little box in the ProLon kit has a low amount of calories in it. The first day I believe is around 1100. Day 2 through 5 is closer to 700. There's a generally pretty significant caloric deficit every single day. And what it's been shown is that having this caloric deficit can be just as powerful at kind of activating the metabolic responses that true fasting can give us, but without having to have those significant hunger pangs, and we have a little bit of food every single day to kind of look forward to and eat. This is why I found it a very successful tool, because we're able to get results while still having food and comfort in the day. One of the things I love about ProLon is that there has been a ton of money put into it. Money put into it to study the effects on the physiology. This idea of fasting has gained in popularity because across the board, from single-celled organisms to all the way up to mammals, fasting's been shown to improve metabolic characteristics, and in some respects actually improve longevity, how long we can live. And so ProLon has taken this and studied a particular fasting mimicking diet to show that their strategy can provide those same types of results, specifically from a metabolic standpoint. They have everything from when to eat the nut bar, when to make the soup, when to drink the liquid, and how much. So for someone who's like, I get this, Derek, I should fast, but I'm not necessarily comfortable doing this on my own, buy a ProLon kit. All the instructions are here, and we know that the results can come. They've studied this extensively, and so we can kind of lean back on saying we're pretty sure that this is going to help with inflammation, with cholesterol, with weight loss. And I can say from clinical experience, it does across the board. How we choose to utilize this tool is going to be different from case to case. One thing that you will find if you do a ProLon is that it doesn't necessarily follow those same kind of low carbohydrate rules that we talked about in one of the earlier videos. And it doesn't. I'm okay with that because remember why we're doing this. It's not to say that carbohydrates are the worst things in the world and they are the enemy. That's not the truth. It's about what are we trying to achieve with the tools that we have. And so ProLon itself, yeah, you will find there is a higher level of carbohydrates in there, but it's still, even with that, has been shown to be very effective at lowering some of these metabolic dysfunctions. And so with that, using ProLon for short periods of time, those 5-day fasting mimicking diets, and going back to our low carbohydrate diet afterwards, I find just as effective. So I get this question a lot: is ProLon the only way to do a 5-day fasting mimicking diet? No, it's not. One can simply do a caloric restriction for 5 days in a row and stick to their low carbohydrate diet. Can I sit back in my chair and say, yeah, you're going to get the same benefits as ProLon? No, I can't. I haven't studied that with millions of dollars. That's one of the benefits, is that we actually can lean back on some literature and some research. But is it, a doable thing to kind of do this on our own? Absolutely, it is. Why, ProLon and other fasting mimicking diets have kind of chosen this 5-day mark as a guideline seems to have a lot to do with this particular process in our body called autophagy. And autophagy is like the recycling of old, broken down cells. It's like recycling our old crappy cells that don't work very well. And it's been shown that with this level of caloric restriction, autophagy starts to really increase kind of day 3, day 4, day 5. So we get a lot of this cellular recycling happening in these later parts. This is the benefit to elongated fasts. It's also something that hasn't been shown to be as aggressive in the shorter fasts. So it goes back to, why are we choosing to do this? If we're choosing to do this from a weight loss standpoint, if we're choosing to do it from a metabolic standpoint, we can sometimes get away with using shorter fasts. If we're looking at a kind of immunological cellular regeneration, a true kind of anti-aging therapeutic intervention, it's kind of goes to show that longer fasts will be a little bit more impactful in that realm. That's the kind of nuts and bolts of a 5-day fasting mimicking diet like ProLon, or one that you do on your own, and how it can fit into the reasons as to why we are fasting. I find that the caloric restriction over the 5 days is a lot easier to do than, say, no calories at all. And that's really what our next video is going to be, entertaining longer fasts that are 0 to very little calories and require a little bit more attention. And these are the ones that really should be done under supervision of a doctor, because they just get a little bit more intense. So to recap where we are in our fasting series, we started off with talking about why should we fast, who should fast, what can we expect, what benefits can we get. 2, we talked about implementing a low carbohydrate diet, as a way to prepare daily for a successful fast. We talked about parlaying that into intermittent fasting or time restricted eating, which is narrowing our window of when we eat during the day. From there, we jumped to talking about 24-hour fasts and 5-2 fasting, and now we've just introduced a 5-day fasting mimicking diet like ProLon, and why it can be a useful tool in our arsenal of fasting. Thanks for tuning into this video, and look for our next one where we're going to entertain longer extended fasts. If this is where you're jumping in, go watch our previous series, and I look forward to hearing any comments, questions, concerns that you may have. We're looking to put out content that is relevant and helpful for you, and I would love to hear what you think. Thanks. The information in these videos is provided for informational purpose only. It's not intended to substitute for the advice of your doctor or other healthcare professionals. Do not use this information for diagnosing or treating any health problem or disease, and always talk with your doctor before taking any medications, nutritional supplements, implementing any fasting routines. If you suspect you have a medical problem, contact your healthcare provider. This video does not constitute a doctor-patient relationship, and no statements have been evaluated by the FDA and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.